everybody. This is Elissa from Mink Arts and Crafts, and today we have a WIP Chat. We are still, I am still working on Pride by Sandra Winther. As you can see, this beautiful image here, and I will put a little thumbnail of this gorgeous image here up in the corner of this video for at least part of the video. I'm not going to have it up for the entire WIP Chat. And if you're not aware, WIP stands for Work in Progress. And as you can see, this canvas, 56 by 66 centimeter, it's a Diamond Art Club canvas, and it actually is still available up on their website. I am doing this canvas for the Diamonds. Ooh, excuse me, I have a little frog in my throat. Excuse me. I am doing this for Diamonds in Diversity, which is an event hosted by Painting with Pity's Bre and Lexi Sparkles over at Lexi Sparkle Craft. Both of them are on YouTube, so there's still time if you wanted to go ahead and take part in this event for the month of June for Pride. You can go ahead and sign up with them, and I will have their YouTube handles linked down below. So a WIP Chat, that's basically where I sit here. I'll be working on this canvas. As you can see, I'm working on her skin tones. I'm actually working right in here on this symbol, which, because I work on an easel, I don't work flat, makes it a little bit harder for me to like zoom in really close for you guys. But I'm working on this symbol right here, which is an S symbol. So I'll be working on this symbol right here with this lovely brown for her skin tone. Right in here, which is actually this color right there, is what I filled in, and I'll be filling it in right there. So welcome to all of my new subscribers, and I've got a lot of new subscribers recently. I was pretty surprised with my May month in review of that video. It seems to have been extremely popular and just really taken off as far as the number of views that video has gotten. Just in the last week and a half or so since I posted it. So thank you to all of my new subscribers and welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy watching my videos. I do have to say, I love the month in review videos. They're one of my favorite videos to watch. So I was like, when I started my channel, I was like, that is one of the things that I want to make sure I do, are like my month in reviews. So welcome to everybody. I hope you enjoy it here. And I did make notes because I always forget what I want to talk about. So I made like a little bit of a sticky note of the things that I wanted to mention. Oh, and I think that's the wrong sticky note. Where did I leave my sticky note? I wrote down what I wanted to talk about, and apparently I misplaced my sticky note. I will have to go find my sticky note that I wrote. See, this is what I have do. I wrote down what I wanted to talk about, so I wouldn't be like, oh, this is what I did this week, and then I think I left it out in the dining room. So I will have to go grab that, and I will be right back. I found my sticky note. So if I try to remember everything that I've done for the past week and talk about, oh, this is what I did this week, I'll sit here and I'll be like, what did I do this week? So today, before I get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm using for this canvas. So like I said, I work on an easel for anybody that's not aware, and that just is more comfortable for me than working flat, which tends to be irritating for me as far as like my neck and my upper back area. So I work on this incliner, this easel surface. I like to use the Bella Art de Nicole trays, and because I work on the easel like this, and for the sake of this, the WIP Chats and how I work, I use these small trays because then I can hold them in my hand just like this while I'm working. And because there's a lot of color blocking in this canvas, I am using my 10 placer, which today is on my Peachy Keen's pen. That's the one I'm using right now. And then I tend to use a combination of either Pity Putty or Mary Mud. Today I've got the Strawberry Shortcake Mary Mud in my multi-placer, and then I'll use I'm using Australian bamboo grass patty wax, which you can see me scraping the side of the patty wax in my single placer side, and it's a combination of an everlasting tip and then the regular but thin placer tinted there. And I've got all my other goodies over to the side in one of my trinket trays from Lexi. I think for this canvas I'm using this gorgeous green, like this beautiful green tray, like aqua teal colored tray there. And that's what I'm using. So I hope everybody's had a wonderful week. This week has been better for me, like not quite as I haven't been quite as exhausted this week as I was last WIP Chat. I was just like, just feeling really blah that previous week. So I don't feel quite as exhausted this week as I was last week, but it's also not quite as hectic at work this week. I'm trying to think, let's see, because I did have fun last weekend. I know I talked about that hike that I went on, which was much, much needed. I think it was wonderful having that rejuvenation of going to the water, which was wonderful. Being able to go on that hike and see the water like that, which I definitely needed. I needed that little blurb of water time. That's one of the things being out here in the desert is I definitely don't get enough time on the, near the water, seeing the water, anything like that. And I'm not used to not being near the water. It's such an odd thing. But I only have I'm down to just under a year and a half left out here in the desert before I get to leave and go somewhere new and somewhere hopefully closer to water. I have where I believe I should be going, barring any change in plans, but until that gets confirmed, and I know for 100% sure where I'll be moving next, I'm not going to be sharing that on social media or anything like that. But I do know probably with 80% certainty where I'll be moving in a year and a half. So I'm excited for that location, which will definitely be near water. So when we left off, my last post was on Saturday, and I had talked about my haul from Diamond Art Club and all the other goodies that I had purchased. And I have decided, I'm like, you know what, I am doing a canvas no-buy. There are 3 artists that I am exempted from for the no-buy. I will buy any Yumeis that come out because that's my all-time favorite artist is Yume. So Yume canvases are exempt from the no-buy. I will also allow myself to purchase Chrysabug Zodiacs because I've already started her Zodiac series. So if Diamond Art Club comes out with any more of her Zodiacs, then I will purchase those, but just the Zodiacs. If they come out with any of hers that are not on the Zodiac series, then those will go on the wish list and I'll purchase them later. And I don't know how long I'm going to do this no-buy for. We'll see how it goes because I've got so many kits in my canvas or in my stash that I need to work on and finish that I'm I need to do this no-buy and just I'm at least doing it through the end of I'm going to start it and I'm going to go month by month and see how I'm feeling and doing it and revisit my stance each month. But so Yume is exempt from the no-buy, Chrysabug Zodiacs, and then Puffy Gator canvases. And it depends on the Puffy Gator canvas because Twilight Vibes and Daylight, those 2 were I absolutely must have those, which of course I have those. But then there's some of them, some of the Lion Cub ones and some of those where I'm yeah, I don't really, those ones are not even on my wish list for some of those. It's I'm yeah, those are adorable and I think they're super cute canvases and super cute images, but those particular ones remind me too much of Lion King. And then I'm yeah. But then Daylight and Twilight Vibes, those ones I'm okay, I absolutely had to purchase those. So if there's more Daylight or Twilight Vibes, then those I will absolutely purchase. Those are like the three things that are kind of exempted from my no buy that I'm on right now. Otherwise, like I said, I am on a no buy, and it does for diamond paintings, and it doesn't matter which company it may be. Next month in July, I may look into doing my first canvas that I buy in July. If I feel like I've finished enough kits and I'm ready to purchase a kit or two, I may try out like a Jaded Gem shop or another small shop that I have not purchased from. But I mean, I've still got some canvases that I've pre-ordered from some other small shops that are still outstanding. Like, I mean, I've pre-ordered them, but they're not in yet. So, I mean, I've got a lot of canvases that I've purchased. So I need to work on the ones that I have, knowing that I've already got ones outstanding. So that's why I said I need to do this no buy. So that's where I'm at with that. I kind of made that decision. I was thinking of doing that decision and thinking about it, and like kind of halfway decided to do that even before the anniversary sale. And then after the anniversary sale, I'm like, yes, this is a must do, have to make this decision. And I went ahead and made that decision. So far so good. I haven't changed my mind on it. And I am sticking to it. Granted, it's just the release that we did this morning. And it helps that there was one this morning, the Voyager canvas by Brick Bagier or whatever. I can't remember exactly what name she was going by, or the artist was going by. But one of the releases by Diamond Art Club this morning, I bought her other release. It's a new artist, I believe. I bought her other canvas that was released by this artist last week at the anniversary sale, which was the Mooncatcher one, which my canvases didn't ship until Wednesday, I believe. I was kind of worried because they shipped so late that I was like, does this mean that I'm going to have one of my kits not shipped to me? And I'm like, that better not be the case, because if that happens, I'm going to be I would be upset. And I understand things happen, but I'm like, I purchased my kit so early, within the first 2 minutes of the release, before anything was even close to selling out. So if they are going to do that whole, oh, your kit was damaged and we need to refund you your money, I'll be like, really? You're refunding me in releasing, when I was one of the first people to purchase a kit? I would have been kind of, it's granted, yeah, I bought a couple different kits, but still it would have been okay. So I was worried about that happening. And I understand that happens, but to me, and granted, all this is running through my head, and even though none of it actually happened, this is where my brain was going. I'd be okay, thinking immediately my brain is going to worst case scenarios when I didn't get my your package has shipped email until I think Wednesday or so, before I got my your package has shipped email for my anniversary purchases. And whereas other people had already received their packages and mine hadn't even shipped yet, and I'm like, okay, I was one of the first people to purchase and it hasn't even shipped yet. Does this mean that I'm gonna get that dreaded email of we have to refund you for some of your kits or something like that? And then because it had been damaged and we don't have any more in stock, and I would have been but I was one of the first people to check out. Granted, this is all hypothetical because it obviously did not happen, but these are the things that go through my brain. It's immediately going to all these worst case scenarios, but I hadn't received the email yet. And of course I got the email saying my stuff had shipped. So those kits should be here at the beginning of the week. So yes. So back to this week. Went to work on Monday. The weather has been doing some we've had some weird pressure clouds and like weird weather system going on out here in the high desert. And whenever it does weird stuff like this and the pressure changes and drops like that, it really gets me, and I end up with some gnarly migraines. So like I think I've had like 3, so I pretty much have migraines on my migraines that I struggle with are basically like I kind of almost always have like a low grade headache dangling in like the background, and then like a migraine that's high enough where I feel like I need to take medication, even though I'm not allowed to take medication more than like the actual prescription strength pills, or even over the counter pills. I'm only allowed to take like a maximum of twice a week per my neurologist, which let me tell you that a lot of times doesn't feel like, I feel like I have to take it more than that. So a lot of times I'm walking around, and when my MSA, my front desk support, my front desk clerk, when she looks at me and she's like, "You got a migraine today?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because she can see it in my face and in my eyes that I'm struggling that particular day because I've got a really bad migraine. And when that happens more days than not, that's, you know, basically that's a thing. And my migraines kind of started, they started after my Afghanistan deployment. So I am in the military, I'm in the Navy, and I did an Afghanistan deployment back in 2015, 2016. I'm going to take a drink of my Fresca. And one of the things about Afghanistan, so it's kind of twofold. So I had a little bit of a, crush injury falling on my neck, head area. I didn't place those very well, so I'll have to adjust those. When I was doing the training process for my Afghanistan deployment, which can impact the neck and your upper cervical vertebrae. So I'm actually a physical therapist, for any of you that don't know. Your upper cervical vertebrae, those top two, your top 3 cervical vertebrae, are actually innervated by the trigeminal nerve, whereas your lower ones are innervated by your like C1, C2, C3, and so on, nerves. But your trigeminal nerve is one of your cranial nerves. So when you have an issue in that C1, C2, or C3 vertebrae in your neck, it can actually give you, bottom line, I'm not going to go into a long detailed spiel of it, but it can actually give you migraines and contribute to the migraines. So I know some of the symptoms can be related to the injury that I had doing the rollover training and then kind of landing on my neck when I did that training and unbuckled myself and then kind of fell directly on my head in full body armor, and crunched my full body weight with an extra like 40-50 pounds worth of body armor directly onto my neck. And I think that contributed to it. Plus, there's and it's something that we still are starting to learn and don't even know the full impact of what the burn pits that we utilize and that the military utilizes in deployed settings, because we have to be able to dispose of our trash in a deployed environment where you have to, how else are you going to get rid of your trash and your garbage? So the military has traditionally used burn pits, which is basically an open pit, or if you're lucky, they'll have an incinerator, but essentially you burn all of the waste, which that's what we used in Afghanistan. I was also responsible for inventorying and auditing all of the controlled substances at the hospital there. So myself and the pharmacist every month would go down to the burn pit and we would burn all of the controlled substances at our facility. And we had to do that on a monthly basis. So I had a lot of exposure to the burn pits, which has led to some breathing issues. And they have directly linked the burn pits to breathing issues, which were an issue when I first got back from Afghanistan. And then they kind of cleared up. But now that I'm in the desert out here, and this is my first time, ooh, I'm done with that color. And this is my first time in a dry climate since I was in Afghanistan. So it's been a hot minute since 2016. And ever since then, I haven't really been in a dry climate. I've only been in like really humid locations. And now I'm in this dry area, which, I'm not a fan of dry climates. Like, some people don't like humidity. I actually really like humid climates. I like the humidity. I thrive on humidity. I may complain about humidity every now and again, but I like the humidity. I'm going for 7. Let me find my 7. So between that, and they're slowly finding things that are associated with the burn pits, and my mom swears that the migraines are related to the burn pits as well, and they very well could be. So I know that one component can be contributed to the neck and that crush injury, but it could also be related to that air quality and the burn pits as well. So with all of that, I do notice a lot of it, like when I'm having, that was a really bad setup on my pen there. But between the two issues, like, that's part of what, like, the desert has been really rough out here, because I've noticed a lot more issues with the breathing issue. Like, I haven't had so many breathing issues before coming out here to the desert. Like, it's been a big ordeal, and we're trying to figure out a lot of these breathing issues, but the migraines have also been worse since I've been out here. And you know, I'm on all like the prescription meds, the Botox, whole 9 yards, and I still have more migraine days per month than non-migraine days per month. And this past week has actually been a pretty heavy migraine week for this past week. So even though it wasn't as bad work-wise, it was a pretty hefty week as far as migraines were concerned. And part of that had to do with the weather change. Like, we're starting to transition into more of our summertime out here, which we went from kind of like a mild, like our winter time frame where it was really cool and comfortable, and we were like, yeah, this isn't too bad. And now we've transitioned into this really unpleasant, like, we didn't have our like mild shoulder season that everybody is like, yay, like spring. It just rolled right from as cold as it gets out here in the desert. But it can get cold out here. It actually snowed this year, which was shocking. Went right from that into this highly, like, it's been up into the 90s already, consistently into the 90s, and pretty soon it's going to start rolling over into the hundreds, and I'm just not ready for it yet. But with the weather change, and the summer out here is monsoon season for the desert, so then you start getting some really weird pressure systems coming in, which then makes it even more unpleasant. So it's been a rough week as far as like the migraines are concerned, because of the like the pressure systems that have been coming through. So that's been going on this week. I did get, as far as school, like I got so this summer semester, the only class I'm taking for my Doctor of Science is, I'm working on my dissertation, and I did get my dissertation back from my professor like 2 weeks ago. She sent me back my dissertation proposal for me to like make some edits on. Now, have I actually opened up the paper to make the edits and return to her? No. Because if I acknowledge it and do it, then that means that I actually have to, if I acknowledge that that exists, then that means I actually have to do it. So I've been avoiding doing that because I'm like, ugh. I'm at the point where, I'm like 2 years into working on my Doctor of Science, and I'm like mostly done with my classes. I have one more actual like class to do, and I'm like, I'm just so like, I'm like, why did I even want to do this in the first place? Like, I'm enjoying the classes that I've done, but like the thing that I don't like to do is research. And that's like the big thing that I need to do right now is the research, because that's where I'm at. Like, my dissertation project is a research paper, like where I actually have to do an actual research study. I have to do the proposal, get the IRB, so the Institutional Review Board approval, both through the military and then also through my school. And then I have to actually conduct the research project on my patients. So I've been avoiding that because I'm like, I've just been avoiding it. So I really need to work on the edits for my dissertation research proposal. I did read her email where she was like, this is a really good first draft. I've returned it. Here's to make some edits on. Go ahead and make these edits and return it back to me. I just haven't actually opened the document to read the edits that she wants me to make. So I'm avoiding that. But I really need to do that. So I should really try to, that's going to be on like my agenda to do that tomorrow, which will be Sunday, because I'm filming this on Saturday. So that's on my agenda to do tomorrow. So let's see how I do with getting that done tomorrow. I'll update you guys next week on my status on my dissertation proposal. And if I actually succeeded on doing that or not. And then, so that's where I'm at on that. And then I'm also, let's see, didn't really do anything Monday at work. Oh, I had to teach at our INDOC, which is basically the new people checking into the hospital. I had to teach a part of the INDOC class. I don't know when I can do that one. So Monday I was like running around like crazy because that's at the main hospital, and Mondays I work at my branch clinic, which is only a mile from the hospital, but still, that entails me running from seeing my patients at the hospital. I have to make sure I run over to the main hospital, teach the class, and then run back over to teach my class, then run back over to my branch clinic and see my patients. So it was a lot of running back and forth on Monday. I feel like I was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But that was Monday, and by the end of the day, I was just like, ugh, I'm exhausted. Just from the back and forth that I had to do, not because it was actually strenuous, because it's easy for me to just sit there and do my... So it's a really short one that I just have to do. It's just like a 20-minute thing that I have to teach, and for the incoming personnel. So that went pretty quickly, but, annoying to have to go back and forth, which I feel like I'm constantly doing that some days at work. Driving back and forth between, like, the hospital and the clinic where I'm at. And then Tuesday, we had an inspection. We call it a department in the spotlight, so it's a DITS inspection, which sounds like, like when you hear something, department in the spotlight, you kind of think that it's a way to like showcase how your department is doing. No, this is where you have like people from every other, like all these different categories of departments and like projects or whatever in the hospital that come in and basically inspect your department and see how you're doing in all these different areas. So it's not like a fun thing. It's like it's annoying. I don't enjoy it because it's like, okay, you've got to have your schedule basically free or for the time slot of when they're going to come in and do this inspection. So I had adjusted because they moved it last week. It was supposed to be on Monday. They moved it to Tuesday. Fortunately, I had a little bit of time open on my schedule, so I was able to call. We were able to call one of my patients to come in an hour later so I could actually do it because Tuesdays I'm over at the hospital. This inspection was going to be over at my branch clinic. So I had to then be like, okay, I need to be over at the branch clinic for said inspection. So, Tuesday. You want an example of my running around that I do? Tuesday morning. I also on Tuesday had to do my weigh-in. So where you do your 4-hour, because of course, military, Navy, we had to do our BCA, which is our body composition assessment, which is where you have to do your height and weight to make sure you're within height and weight standards. And I'll get into that rigmarole of blah. I hate it. So it's like, seriously, can you pass your fitness assessment? Good. That's what matters. So I had to do height and weight. So went into the hospital to do my height and weight. And I'll get into that in a minute. And all of the annoyingness that goes into that. And then after that, changed into my uniform, saw a few patients. Oh no, then I went into a meeting because I didn't see patients yet. Went into a meeting. After my meeting, I went and I got coffee. I was like, I'm going to go pick up Starbucks because we've got this inspection, and it also happened to be the birthday for one of my corpsmen that works for me. It was her birthday, and she was like, I don't want to celebrate my birthday. And I'm like, would you like Starbucks? Will you celebrate your birthday in the way of me getting Starbucks for you and everybody else? And she was like, I will accept that. So I went and got everybody Starbucks. So I did the Starbucks run, but I was like, I'm not gonna not get Starbucks for the one person who was still over at the hospital that day, because I had a couple people that were out on leave and were off for the day, so that are normally at the hospital, and that left just like one person still at the hospital that day, because I would normally be at the hospital. So I went and grabbed Starbucks and then ran back over to the hospital to drop off Starbucks for my one person that was still over at the hospital, then ran back over to the other clinic. And granted, it's only like driving like a mile each direction type of a thing, but still that little bit of time adds up. Oh, forgot to fluff down my putty. Ran back over to the clinic, dropped everybody's Starbucks off. We were waiting for them to get there to do our inspection. They get there, they do our inspection. We'll find out. They haven't sent the email to see how we did with our results of our inspection yet. So I'm still waiting on that. Nope, I still have them sitting on my drills. Are still right there. Still waiting to see. They should hopefully send an email for that. But from what they said while they were in inspecting us, we seem to have done all right, which I expected we would do fine. It's just more of like a formality kind of a thing. But we had our inspection. Inspection seemed to have gone fine. And then after the inspection, I ran back over to the hospital, saw patients at the hospital, and then left and went home. Watched, it was on Bre's Live because that was Tuesday. I hope that one goes there. Ooh, get that little section done. See, look at the browns. They're coming together. So that went well. Did Bre's Live, came home, did some diamond painting. I think that was the day that I finished my first kit that I wanted to do with Summer for the Summer with the Masters. So I did that kit, finished it, which is I'm not going to do a post review on that one because it was an Amazon kit, and I don't usually do post reviews for the Amazon kits. I'll only do those for like the licensed companies. not for like the cheap Amazon kits, even though didn't need to be a licensed company for that one because it was a non-copyrighted image, but still, I am only doing post reviews for the licensed paintings or licensed companies. So I'll talk a little bit more about that particular kit when I do my month in review for the month of June. I haven't kitted up, well, I've already have it kitted up, but I have not started my next one for Summer with the Masters, which is going to be Monet's Water Lilies, is going to be the next one I want to work on, because I want to finish this one. So I've been focusing on this canvas here just because it's a square and it's granted, it's 56 by 66, which isn't huge, but this is the largest square that I've done. So I want to focus on finishing this square before I start the other one. So did that, and then Wednesday, I don't know that I really did anything crazy on Wednesday. I haven't been spending as much time painting this month, or this week. I'm doing the diamond painting this week. I've been doing some other stuff just because I've been, like I said, it's been a really migraine-y week. So I've been a little slower. And then Thursday night, when I got home, I got off a little bit later from work. So by the time I got home, I was on Lexi's live. And then I did a little bit of work on this one. And then I worked on a couple of my Paint Gem minis, the rainbow kit. I didn't really do too much else because I was just feeling blah. And I've been really tired lately. So, like the evening rolls around and my bedtime rolls around and I'm just like, I am smoked. And I keep forgetting to, and part of the challenge too is my PCM had tried, because of part of the breathing issues that I've been having since I got out here to 29 Palms is I've got this chronic cough. Like I wake up in the morning and I am like hacking my lungs up, and it sounds like like a smoker's hacking cough. And I do it like the first couple hours in the morning of like hacking my lungs up. And so my PCM, she's like, okay, well, we'll switch you to a different medication because it could be allergies, but it also could be like and also when I run, I've kind of like, I can't run out. I haven't been able to run like I normally would. And I love running. Like when I lived in Hawaii before moving out here, I was running 10 to 13 miles, every morning and just fine with no issues. And then I come out here and I can't run a mile and a half without like keeling over, feeling like I'm going to die because I can't breathe and I'm wheezing uncontrollably. But it's not like a straight asthma because I can so they tried me on an inhaler and the inhaler didn't really work because I could use the inhaler before I worked out and it did no change because my wheezing and hacking and coughing starts about 10 minutes after I stop running. So if I use the inhaler after my run, then it affects the coughing. So she switched up my allergy medication to, I think, Singular, which is supposed to be one that also helps with like asthma. I don't normally work from left to right, so I'm going to probably go up to the other side because I don't like it because I can't see what I'm doing. If I was a lefty, I could work like this. So I need to go up over here and work here and then that way. This is why I normally start on the left side of the canvas, but since I was already working here, I started here for you guys. So I keep forgetting to go down to the clinic, down the hallway to the clinic, because I'm, every time I remember it's lunchtime, and then of course the front desk is not staffed, so I can't go down because that's like when I'm not seeing patients is at lunchtime. So I keep forgetting to run down there in between patients to schedule a follow-up with my PCM to address my breathing issues and do a follow-up with her. And then I also want to get some like blood drawn, some lab values done for some of the other issues that I'm having. But anyways, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. And I keep forgetting to do that. But anyways, so we talked about a little bit of that. I haven't really done too much else at work. Yesterday was Friday. I really didn't get, I don't know that I got too much of any painting done. I just kind of came home, chilled. I did a little bit yesterday on this kit, but mostly just kind of hung out, called my mom, talked to her, did a 3-way chat with my brother. My brother successfully made it to Washington yesterday, and he's checking into his new apartment today and getting the keys, which he's super excited about. I think he actually is texting while I'm talking to you guys. He's texting the group, like our family group chat, texting us photos of his new place. My parents have finished. They're doing a last run of stuff to the dump at his old house because they stayed back to finish like a last couple things on like the remodel of his old house, and then it'll be ready for him to like list it and sell it, because he decided instead of renting it, he's gonna sell it instead. I have amazing parents. They are totally awesome. Love them to pieces. And then their goal is to try to head back down to Florida, to their place in Florida, so they can work on their stuff this weekend, potentially today. If not today, then they'll head back tomorrow, but they'll probably still leave today and then drive. I don't know if they're going to drive straight through or not, get back to their land. And my parents live in a RV full time because my dad decided he wanted a career change and went from being an IT engineer to being an RV repairman. RV repair technician is technically what it is, and he's loving it. So that's what they do right now. And my mom's an artist. Go figure. Like they're loving it and they're having a blast. So they can just drop and go to Connecticut for a month to help my brother remodel his house, and they can just drop and do that, whereas he wouldn't have been able to do that when he was still a computer IT guy. When he was an IT engineer, he couldn't just drop everything and go to another state for a month to help his kid remodel their house. Like he couldn't do that easily. He would have had to plan and then try to telework and be limited on the hours that he could do, and boom, here he is. So they're doing that. And then let's see, I wrote down notes of what I wanted to talk about, but I feel like I'm super scattered because I went out of order. Oh yes, I was going to talk about like the super ridiculous, antiquated, out of date system that we have in the Navy for doing height and weight. So we have height and weight standards that we have to do, and you have to be weighed. So you have a certain weight limit of how much you can weigh for how tall you are. And this is something that I despise with a passion, because it doesn't take into account people's build. And if you can't pass the height and weight, then you get measured. So like for me, I can't pass the height and weight. I'm probably about for my height, I'm like almost exactly 20 pounds overweight for my height. And granted, yeah, I could stand to lose a little bit of the fluff that I have around my abdomen, but I don't feel like I'm like grossly overweight. But by Navy standards, I'm definitely overweight. But then when you have me do the abdominal circumference is the next step. If you can't pass height and weight, then you get measured by your abdominal circumference, which is just above your hip bones. You get taped, and for women, you tape, you have to be under 35.5 inches in abdominal circumference. And I've always been able to pass the abdominal circumference of 35.5 inches. But without fail, I always freak out about being able to pass abdominal circumference. It's always like this, like, terror in my head of like, am I going to pass? And I like freak out about it. And I have this fear that I'm not going to pass. So the military is really good at creating like eating disorders in their people because of all of these weight standards that we have. And it's like super unhealthy, the things that everybody will do to try to make sure that they pass height and weight. So, because it's like, if you can't pass the height and weight, then you do the abdominal circumference taping. And if you can't do the abdominal circumference taping, then they go to a 3-point taping. And for women, that's basically they tape your they measure your abdominal circumference, and then they measure around the widest point of your hips. And they add those two numbers together. So your abdominal circumference, which is the narrowest part, your hips at the widest point, and don't ask me why we do that, because it's the stupidest thing ever, considering the fact that women have wide hips to begin with. And all of my weight is in my hips and my butt. So that's where I am the widest to begin with. And then they take and they measure around your neck as well. And they subtract your neck measurement from your hips and your waist measurement. And then from there, sorry, froggy throat, they will get the actual number of what it's supposed to be. I have never, ever in my entire career, and granted I've only been in for like 10 and a half years. So in the 10 and a half years that I've been in the military, I have never been able to pass a 3-point taping, ever. Because I have a really skinny neck, and I have a really big butt, basically, is what it comes down to. So if you have a big butt and you have a skinny neck, you're screwed. But I can pass the abdominal circumference, and I'm usually around like a 34-inch abdominal circumference for that part of the taping, and I'm fine. But without fail, every single time it rolls around, because I'm like, granted, yes, I would love to be able to just jump on the scale and be underneath, because it depends on how they measure me for height or how like slouching I am, because I'm usually like 5'5" or 5. Sometimes they measure me as 5'5", sometimes they measure me as 5'6". I think technically I'm 5'4.5", but it depends on how much I stretch and make myself tall. So if you're 5'5", your weight limit is 160 pounds. And I know some of you listening to this are like, okay, that's outrageous. And if you're 5'6", your weight limit is 163 pounds. Sometimes I'm measured as 5'5", sometimes I'm measured as 5'6". This time I was measured as 5'6", so really I need to be somewhere between 160 and 163 pounds. I have not been that way in quite a few years. I usually measure right around 180, 183, somewhere around, usually around 183 is what I measure. And granted, yeah, it would be nice to be able to jump on the scale and easily weigh that like 160, but like I just haven't been able to get down to that. Like, I can work out a lot, I can eat super, super healthy. I can literally eat nothing but raw fruits and vegetables, and I still weigh the exact same. That's my body wants to weigh apparently exactly what I weigh right now. It just doesn't want to not weigh any less than what I'm weighing right now. And that's just apparently the weight that my body wants to be at the moment. And I try weighing less, but it just doesn't seem to ever happen. So I always have to do the abdominal circumference. Well, every single time I always freak out, because I'm like, all it takes is being, the wrong time of month, or you're just feeling really bloaty and all of this. And then, it's very easy to be bloaty And now you can just add an inch to your abdominal circumference. And then my normal like 34 to 35 inch circumference, because usually I'm like 34 or 34.5. And then that abdominal circumference can very easily inch up to being right at the edge of where it should be. Or if you get somebody who measures you wrong, well, it doesn't take much when you're kind of like at that border and you run the risk of potentially failing. So for me, I'm always so nervous about it. So I've been like really, really, really watching what I've been eating for the last few weeks, like really been aware of what I've been doing. Sorry if you heard the cough. My dog is getting over a bad cough, and occasionally she still sounds like a dying goose on occasion. So the dying goose just coughed. I think she choked on some spit. So we had that, and this is one of the things that just drives me bonkers is the whole height and weight business, because it's just so out of date, the way that we do everything, because it doesn't factor in people's body types and body shapes. And especially when you consider how women are built, like you get somebody who has, like me, who has a big butt, and we're going to be screwed because we get a lot of butt. So that's a lot of weight right there. And then that affects me when it comes to, my height and weight. And then you look at all of these. So you look at the women that have to be taped, and we struggle with it. And then you look at all of these guys that can have these massive pot bellies. And you can be like, okay, how in the world are they anywhere near close to being within standard? But they'll have these huge honking necks. So because they've got a huge honking neck, they're within standards because that's how they get taped. Because for them, it's if they don't pass the abdominal circumference, they go to the 2-point taping because they don't have to tape their hips. For the guys, you just tape neck and the abdominal circumference, and you subtract the neck from the abdominal circumference. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Why do we have to tape women's hips but not men's hips? So you add our hips and our waist together and subtract our neck circumference from that. But for guys, knowing that women have big hips in the first place, but for guys, you only have to do their abdomen and subtract their neck circumference from that, knowing that most guys are going to have big necks to begin with. How does that make any sense? How? And that's how you get these guys that you look at them and you're like, you look overweight. How are you within standards? Oh, sorry. Anyways, I will get off my high horse of the antiquated system that drives me bonkers, because it just creates, last thing I'll say on this topic, it just creates eating disorders in people, because it drives this like disordered eating, because people start to starve themselves to try to make standards, or they go to these super unhealthy things where they'll go and they'll spend hours in the sauna like the day before, the night before, dehydrating themselves. So that way they lose all their water weight to try to make weight. They'll do all sorts of unhealthy measures to try to like pass weight. And granted, like I've been guilty of doing some of these same things myself in the past, trying to do it because I was like, oh, I have to make sure I make weight and blah, 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 blah. Because you used to not be able to do the abdominal circumference. You used to have to either do 3-point taping, or you had to do it was either 3-point taping or it was the height and weight. You didn't have the abdominal circumference. But now that you can do abdominal circumference, I'm like, well, I will make abdominal circumference, because for me to sustain the height and weight is not doable. So anyways, I digress. I will get off that topic because it's a tedious topic, and one of my soapboxes that's not really pertinent. It's just one of those annoying things that irks me to no end. Anyway, yeah, okay. I'm leaving that topic. It's still like, stewing in my gut because I feel so passionately about that whole thing. But on a happier note, there's this, what I want to try to do, I'll either do it today, I'll probably end up doing it tomorrow, because, let's be honest, I'm not going to actually do it today, because I haven't even showered yet, I'm being a bum, I'm still in my pajamas, that's the nice thing about you guys not being able to see me. I have toyed about, like, starting my videos with, like, an actual video clip of me, so you guys could see my face first, and then going to the actual this clip of that, but I'm like, so I may start doing that. So if you guys think that would be a good idea, let me know. But then the thing about that is that requires me to actually make myself look presentable and like not be a bum wearing my pajamas. Because usually I get home from work and I put on a pair of like a tank top if it's hot out. I'll put on like a t-shirt or a tank top and wear like a pair of like shorts or like boxer short type things to be because it's super hot out here. And I'm cheap when it comes to air conditioning. Because again, it's super hot out here. And I haven't replaced my windows with, that one doesn't want to be used, being stubborn. So that would require me actually being presentable. But, so like I said, today I haven't even bothered like getting out of my pajamas. So I'm still in my pajamas right now as I'm filming this, and it's like almost lunchtime. Tomorrow, though, I can't do, like, the lazy bum 2 days in a row. So tomorrow I will actually be presentable. But they've opened this, like, random pop-up over in Joshua Tree, which is the next town over from me, which is so random. But Joshua Tree is, like, tourist, like, catch-all everything. Like, it's, like, all the tourists over there. So I usually avoid doing a lot of stuff in Joshua Tree. But I did go to the farmer's market there last week, which was really fun. They did have a lot of good, like, produce and, like, random fun stuff there. And we noticed, my friend and I noticed as we were leaving J-Tree that this, like, random little, like, historic gas station that's not an actual gas station anymore. It's just kind of like this, like, photo spot, shop on the way out of Joshua Tree. We noticed that it was like all decked out and like decorated like Cheez-Its. So apparently it's for 1 week only, from Monday through tomorrow, which is Sunday. It's a pop-up Cheez-It shop. So they're going to have like all these flavors of Cheez-Its that you can purchase. They have it like this, like literally the building is decorated like Cheez-Its. It looks ridiculous and so funky and so hilarious, and it's so bright and orange and like pow in your face. And it, like, totally fits Joshua Tree because it's so pow in your face. But complete opposite, like, style of anything you would ever see in Joshua Tree. And they've got, like, this dispenser that is shaped like it's like a gas pump dispenser that will blow bags of Cheez-Its into either your car or into a bag. But as if it's, like, a gas pump because it's at a gas station. And I'm just, like, and then there's this big statue of, like, this cowboy. It's part of this gas station, and it looks like he's holding something. He's got his arms in, like, this position to hold something. So they have him holding some kind of, like, I don't know what they have him holding. I just saw the photos of it, because he wasn't holding anything yet, because they were still decorating when we were there on Saturday. They weren't ready for it yet. But it's, tomorrow is the last day for it. So I want to go to this, like, pop-up Cheez-It, whatever they're calling this thing. That's, like, the talk of the town. It's like literally the talk of the town. I'm like, is that bad that this is what we get our excitement about? Like, that's how boring it is out here, that's what we find exciting. Also, I did just buy my tickets to Cirque du Soleil is having a show. I think it's their Corteo show down in Palm Springs. Ooh, that's a really bad drill. Down in Palm Springs in end of August, like August 31st to September 3rd. So I just purchased my tickets to that. Well, my ticket. So I just purchased my ticket to that. So I'm excited for that. Of course, I'm going to like a matinee because I ain't going down there for like a 7:30 show, be there, and then have to drive all the way back up the hill in the dark after the show when I'm tired and just want to go to bed. That's not happening. So I'm going to go to a matinee because I'm not a late night person. And I don't like driving in the dark. And especially not going up that hill at the dark. You have to worry about coyotes running across the road out here in the desert. And a coyote would probably win against my car. My car is a tiny car. It's a little thing. My car's name is Keto, and a coyote would probably win versus Keto. The coyote would probably win. So that's what I have planned so far. So I was excited for my tickets. I'm going to try to do this Cheez-It thing and see what that's all about because it looked hilarious. Now, mind you, can't remember the last time I've actually eaten a Cheez-It. So, it's kind of like go for just like the go of it and just for the fun of it because I don't eat snacks and I don't really eat Cheez-Its. I didn't even know that they had more than just like the white cheddar and the white Cheez-Its and the orange Cheez-Its. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for you guys because we're basically right at my normal length, which ends up being a little bit longer than an hour. We made some pretty good progress today, you can see. I did quite a bit down here. Let me go ahead and pan it back over so you guys can see. We made some really good progress down here with these 2 shades of brown, of tan of her skin. And then on her chin, good progress on her chin. Got some drills I need to pop back down. And then around her cheek right here. What I did decide this morning / last night, I was looking at this kit and I was like, I really want this to look like kintsugi. And if you don't know what kintsugi is, it's the Japanese art. When you look at ceramics that have been cracked or broken, in Japanese culture, they view that as not as something like we do where, oh, it's broken, we need to toss it out. They're like, oh, that's just a chance to make it into an even more beautiful work of art. And they repair those ceramics with gold. And they would basically repair the crack with gold. And it's a whole process that they do it with. So I had already laid the drills down right through here that were just a regular yellow. And up in here with the regular yellow and over here. And I went ahead and I pulled those drills off because I decided, I was like, those drills were there. I really want to use like a metallic gold drill in those places. So I went ahead and placed an order with DP with Sparklers for those drills. And I haven't decided if I'll probably end up peeling these ones off as well. These are an AB, but they're just like a yellow AB. So I went ahead and peeled those off. There is more of like this color AB, which I left that AB on because I feel like it could be the gold bleeding into that. So I will end up peeling that one off, these ones off as well. But I figure I'll do that when I get to the other side of the canvas. I'll manipulate it and take those ones off as well. But before I filled in these drills here, I went ahead and took these ones off. So that way I could leave it and put in the gold drills when I get them in. Because I really want this to kind of look like that gold, that kintsugi look. For the cracks on her face. So I'm going to do that because I don't mind, like this here looks fine. And I do like this AB, so I may take these ones out, these oranges right here, and turn those into the AB as well. So let me zoom in so you can kind of see that. You can see here, it doesn't come through super well. You can see there's this AB here, and here you've got like the orange of that one. And then let me put a drill cover on so you can kind of see. So that way if I drop anything, it's not going to make a mess or go anywhere. And then as I bring it down, you can see how that's just more of like a yellow AB right here. So those ones I'll probably peel off and replace with the the metallic one and just leave it as like a gold metallic AB bleeding into this one here. And then I may use this color here to replace these ones where it leaves it as the gold that's fading into the lighter tone out there. So I'll probably use that color in that area there. So I think that's what I'm going to do for that area. As I zoom back out a little bit so you can see her. But she's coming along nicely. So I'll probably have, my goal is to make some really good progress on her. But other than that, I will let you all go. And I hope you enjoy this fine, wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you guys next week.